Hey there, today I've turned up at the fully charged electric car show, or EV show, or electric show, whatever you want to call it, because I hesitate to say electric car show because there's like a home section as well inside. But anyway, we've come outside where all the cars are, and the cool cars, as you can see behind me. So we're going to check out what's going on here, maybe talk to a few people, but first of all, I want to find out more about these beauties behind me. Check that out. And I hear there's a DeLorean there that can actually do 88 miles per hour now. Checking out these amazing cars, I found Moggy of electric classic cars. I spoke to these guys a couple of years ago when you converted a Ferrari to electric, and you upset a lot of my audience because they were how dare they do that?
I love doing things like that. We've done a few Ferraris now. We've got another 4 Ferrari Testarossas in the workshop now getting converted.
Electric Testarossas?
Tesla Rossas, yeah. So a Tesla drivetrain in the rear. So I mean, the Testarossa is a nice looking car, but I mean it's one of those like Ferraris when Fiat really got their teeth into the cars, and it was a bit plasticky inside, but the engine's fantastic. As with most Ferraris, the engine.
Well, that's the bit you've thrown away.
Yeah, but it's making a nice coffee table.
You are going to upset a load of more people. That's awesome. And the other thing that you've done, I saw on social media, was a crazy fast Mini as well.
Yeah, Tesla powered Mini. Going wild with the conversions is what I love doing. Yeah. Making crazy amounts of power, because that's kind of why I started doing this, is to enable me to drive classic cars every day, but drive them with stupid power. Because back when I was a petrol head, I used to put superchargers on Beetles and Porsche engines into beach buggies and things like that. So I've always done hot rodding and modifying classic cars to make them go faster, and when I discovered you can put an electric motor in and go even more faster but more reliably, well, that's it. I'm now officially an electro head.
I was going to ask, so that's interesting, because you see, back when I was a petrol head, so you no longer class yourself as a petrol head, and you've got this new term now, which is electro head.
Yeah, I think that's probably an accurate description of me. I mean, since I was 17, I'm 49 now, since I was 17 I've always driven classic cars, and I've always owned classic cars that are older than me. So I was born in 1973, all the cars I've ever owned have been older than that. So Presently, I've got a 1968 Beetle, which is my first car I ever had when I was 17. I've still got it. I've got a 1973 Beetle. I've got a 1969 VW Bus, and a 1996, which is the youngest car I've ever owned, 1996 Land Rover Defender. Okay. All electric.
So apart from the Defender, you've definitely got Volkswagen theme going on there.
I love Volkswagens and old Porsches. I used to rally a Porsche 914 for 7 years in the British Historic Rally Championship. So I've been a petrol head. I've done off-road racing, I've done rallying, I've done drag racing. I've built stupidly overly powerful engines that take thousands of hours to build, hundreds of man hours to just keep alive every year during a racing season. So I've done that. I'm not some eco tree hugging hippie that's just trying to save the planet by converting classic. No, that's not me. That's just a nice byproduct of the fact I'm converting these classics to keep them alive and use them regularly, and not put them in some oxygen tent to gain in value as an investment. I hate that. You got to drive classic cars every day to enjoy them, and that's part of what I do by converting to electric.
So do you think that ultimately most classic cars that get used are going to have to be converted? I mean, for example, I've recently bought an E30 BMW, because I used to own one in the 90s, and I just had to have another one, right? Now I live right on the edge of the North Circular, so as long as I don't go that way, I'm fine. But if they extend the ULEZ zone, I'm screwed. Does that mean that would be an option?
Definitely be an option, yeah. I mean, if you convert a classic car to electric, you can change the fuel type with the DVLA, which then changes the taxation class, and the ANPR database is then updated, so you can drive in a ULEZ zone and not have to pay the congestion charge, the emissions charge and things like that. And those things are going to other cities as well, don't forget. And that's a good thing, because clean air zones is a good thing for everybody's health, and there's a reason why you've got a tailpipe on a car, and there's a reason why it's at the back, because that stuff is poisonous. If you then put that at the front of the car, or even worse, put that exhaust pipe into the interior of the car, do you know how many miles you get before you're dead? 3 miles.
Yes.
You'd be 3 miles down the road before that toxic fumes killed you.
Yeah.
So, it's a good thing that we stop that toxic fumes going into the atmosphere that, the kids are breathing, that's on school runs and things like that. So I'm all for that. But yeah, you can definitely drive a classic E30 that's been converted to electric in the ULEZ zone.
I'm glad we didn't go too far with that anatomical analogy there, because it was getting a little bit worrying there. But let me ask you this, whilst this plane goes overhead. I have a lot of people on my audience that the moment they hear electric cars, they're like, yeah, but they've got no soul, they're no fun to drive, they're just not the same thing, I would never drive an electric car. But you've just told me that you used to rally cars, you are a proper car guy. Yeah. How would you answer those people?
I'll answer them, simple. What I say to people is, don't listen to people with opinion, listen to people with experience. And I can guarantee you all of those people that say they've got no soul, they haven't driven them. Simple as that. And in fact, I had a guy from Bonham's Auctions that came up recently, and he came to us with that kind of like mindset, and during the time he was with us and when he went away, completely different. He's like, now I get it. Like, these cars are just better. They're easier to drive, and they're still a classic car. You get in them, and you're surrounded by classic carness. It's just you haven't got the noise and the smell. And everybody goes, "Oh, that's what classic cars are all about." No, it's not. They're simply not. It's like saying that my classic house is all about the original fireplace and the noise of the crackling of the wood and things like that. No, it's not. You put in a central heating system in that old cottage, I can guarantee you it's still an old cottage, but guess what's happened? You're now enjoying it more, and it's easier to live with on a day-to-day basis because it's not as cold, and you don't have to go and get the wood from outside, and there's a smell of like the fire so they're still classic cars, but it enables you to use and enjoy them as daily drivers again. And then the reliability is 100%. You haven't got to maintain them, so you're not stuck on your back in December in the cold garage trying to figure out why it's not starting. So there's a lot of advantages that you put back into a car when you convert them to electric, and maybe yes, the noise of the engine is removed, but not all classic cars have great noises. Flat six Porsches, V8s, but a lot of cars out there, like, nobody has ever said, oh, a diesel like engine in a Land Rover, oh, it's such a lovely noise. No, it's not. It's horrible. So you convert one of those to electric, you're improving everything.
So tell me this, now this market is getting quite crowded. There's quite a few people doing what you're doing now, but you were one of the first guys to do this. How did you? What inspired you? How did you get into it?
So I started 7 years ago, and 7 years ago there was kind of nobody really doing it. And because I was into modifying classic cars all my life, it just seemed a natural transition. I mean, to go, I've put superchargers on classic engines, turbos. I put a turbo and a supercharger on the classic engines, and I was just about to build another stupid, crazy engine, overcomplicated. And I came across a converted car in the States just on YouTube. I thought, now that's a good idea, because I know my background is the electric and energy industry. I know how much power there is in an electric motor. So I thought, not done that before, done everything else, I'll put an electric motor in. And within the first few seconds of me finishing it, putting it on the road and putting my foot down for the very first time and feeling like, whoa, that's it, petrol was dead for me. From then on, petrol was dead. But you're right, since I've built up this market now myself, and I've proved the business model works, and other people have seen it, I think, that's a business model that works. And every other month now you see there's a new company starting up converting classics, and that's only a good thing. The more the merrier, because at the end of the day we've got about 100 cars in the order book to build, and there's only so many cars we can cope with. So it's a good thing as long as everybody is working to the same standards and the same quality and safety, then that's good. Right, so I'll give you a quick tour of some of the cars. This is a VW Beetle Baja that's been kind of converted. So obviously this is had the front chopped off in the Baja style. So that's an off-road race in California. So it's been built by a company called Type 2 Detectives, awesome specialists in VW Beetles and campers. And the paintwork has been done by a graffiti artist called Penfold. So in this, we've got a battery pack just in there, and obviously charge point is where the fuel cap used to be here. Awesome paint, system or design. And round the back is the business end. So if you come round the back, or actually if I open the door, I can't quite see it, but if you poke your camera through there, you'll see the control system. Essentially, you've got a direction knob and a display just between the seats. And then at the rear, mind your step, in the rear is the business end. So here, we've gone Tesla. So in the rear here is a Tesla small drive unit. And that's all bolted into the existing infrastructure of the car, and that's given around about 300 horsepower. And also in here is a small little boot as well, so we've got a little bit of luggage space in there, and the same at the front. And some of the spec is there. So we've got a 36 kilowatt hour battery pack, 120 mile range, and it'll probably pull wheelies. We'll know once it's finished. It's not quite finished, this one yet. So that's my, it's not my, but that's a VW Beetle Baja. And next to it here, we got an awesome little bubble car. So this is a BMW Isetta Bubblecar. If I show you where the charge socket is. So here is the BMW Isetta logo, and just underneath there is the charge socket with a short vehicle sticker on there. So one of the challenges with this is not going too powerful, because obviously this is a chain-driven motor. You used to have a little motorbike motor on the side. So what we've done is underneath this panel here is where the motor is, and that attaches to the original gearbox of the car. But what we've done, we've locked it in third gear. So all you've got is one gear now. It's nippy. It's not. I wouldn't say it's performant, but if you come around the front, it's one of the coolest cars to drive in the city. So this obviously is owned by a customer in London, and then to get in it, it's front door opening, and you've got a bench seat in there, which again is hilarious. Going around corners, you slide all over the place on the bench seat, which is just brilliant. I love it. But we kept it all original. The battery pack is actually just there, so you're actually sitting on top of the battery pack. So the battery pack is the biggest challenge in this car, because there's no space anywhere in it, so we put it underneath there, and it's got around about, I think it's 18 kilowatt hours, 17 kilowatt hours battery pack, which in such a small car actually ends up giving you a decent range. I'd say probably more than 80. It's probably about 100 mile range. So
it's got 1 foot driving.
1 foot driving. So you've got a lot of regenerative braking from the motor, so it makes it really practical in the city. Next to us here now is a really special car. So we've done a full-on restoration on this car. It came in as a little bit of a basket case. So we've done a full restoration, exterior, interior, and then we've converted it to electric, and at the same time we've upgraded things like the brakes, suspension. So it's got Willwood brakes all the way around. It's got a custom gas suspension system on it, so it drives like a modern Tesla, and it's got a full-on Tesla battery pack in it as well. So it's got a 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, but also a Tesla large drive unit in the rear. So it's 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. It's probably the quickest BMW E9 on the planet. And it just drives so smooth, because we sorted out the brakes and suspension. It's a really, really nice car to drive. I really do like this car. And this is actually going to be for sale in the Bonhams auction at Goodwood Festival of Speed this year. So absolutely beautiful car, inside and out, and to drive as well. But we try to keep the interior looking as classic as the original. So the dials that are in the dashboard are kind of still the old analog type style dials, and the direction knob in the middle has got, polished brushed aluminium reverse, neutral and drive on it. So we try to maintain the classic styling inside the car. And then the final one we got on our stand, it's probably the most iconic one that everybody will recognise, is the DeLorean. So with a nod to Back to the Future, Mr. Fusion, but this isn't powered by Mr. Fusion. It's powered by Mr. Elon Musk. So who's I suppose the modern day Mr. Fusion. So this again has a Tesla drive unit in the rear. It's got a 75 kilowatt hour battery pack. Again, out of a Tesla, one of the earlier Tesla Model S's. So it's got a small battery pack in the front. You've still got the boot in the front, so it's still got luggage space. And then the rest of the battery pack's in the rear. So in the film, obviously they tried to future-proof a classic by converting it to Mr. Fusion, and we've kind of future-proofed it now by converting it to electric. So this is the TESLOrean. It's probably the best description of it. But it's so iconic with the gull-wing doors and the stainless steel bodywork. It still looks like a modern car now, I think. So putting it to electric, I think it's now got the drivetrain that it always should have had from the factory. But obviously back then they wouldn't have had the technology. It would have probably been lead acid back then. But from the outside, you wouldn't know it's electric. So the only thing that gives it away is if you open up the rear, you'd see the battery pack and obviously some of the electrics. Anything orange that you see in electric cars is obviously the high voltage cables. So you got your service disconnect on the top. So this has got, as I say, 75 kilowatt hour battery pack, 300 horsepower motor, which is plenty enough in a DeLorean, and 150 mile range. But it's used regularly. The customer drives this a lot, so which is exactly what we want to do with our cars. It's to enable customers to enjoy them and drive them regularly. So yeah, there you go. Those are the 4 cars we brought to the show, and if you want to see more of our builds, check us out on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Electric Classic Cars, or any of our social media feeds. There's plenty of our other builds on there.
A big shout out and thanks to Jay Williams over at Air Technic, who are top tier sponsors of Brown Car Guy. Check them out at Air Technic Co UK for exhausts, brakes, suspension and body kits. Plus our other major sponsor, Nayagen Solutions. Much appreciation also to Tier 4 sponsors, Muhammad Ali Humaid, Tom Conway Gordon and Reza Adil. And of course all these other guys who supporting on Patreon. Brown Car Guy is eternally grateful. Hey, think about joining them over at patreon.com Brown Car Guy. If you can't, don't worry. Just make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel and website. Plus follow on social media by searching for Brown Car Guy.